Denmark, Danevang. If you are passionate about Denmark and read some of its literature, you may come up sooner or later with the word Danevang, sometimes also spelled Danevang. This term, known only by Danes, actually expresses an idea that is somewhat untranslatable. The words mark, as in Danemark, and vang, as in Danevang, both mean field. But Danevang sounds a bit more romantic, and often used to express a kind of national nostalgia, especially for people living abroad. If the nickname is kept reserved for use by the Danes themselves, we can all relate to the kind of nostalgia the word invokes. For example, when you open an old box of Lego that's been hiding at the back of your closet for years, and find yourself transported back to your childhood. Ah, Lego, maybe that's why Danish children are also said to be living in the happiest country in the world. Netherlands, Holland. Have you ever heard of the figure of speech called a pars pro toto? This fine Latin phrase means that something is referred to by means of one of its constituent parts. The term literally translates as a part taken for the whole. So why are we talking about this? Because Holland may be the most famous illustration of the genre, the term Holland. In fact, just one region and former province on the western coast of the Netherlands is frequently used to refer to the whole nation. Some claim that this loose usage misrepresents the country, as the Holland region only accounts for 32% of Dutch surface area and 37% of population. But this region has been historically the most powerful region, dominating foreign trade. Hence most of the Dutch traders encountered by foreigners were from Holland. Germany, the land of poets and thinkers. It may have escaped your notice, but Germany is actually das Land der Dichter und Denker, the country of poets and thinkers. Never a people to fail to blow their own trumpet. This is, fairly obviously, a nickname they gave themselves. And common decency means we are going to skip over the many different and colorful sobriquets Germans were awarded by their neighbors at various times over the last turbulent century. Nonetheless, the nickname, the country of poets and thinkers, is well deserved. It is hard to deny that many famous cultural icons have come from Germany, producing popular philosophical teachings, useful scientific discoveries, and more hummable musical works than you could shake a conductor's baton at. Switzerland, Helvetia. Who run the world? Girls, said Beyoncé once. Well, actually several times if you listen to the whole chorus. She might have been right when it comes to Switzerland, whose actual nickname, Helvetia, is nothing less than the female personification of the country. Her name is a derivation of the ethnonym Helvetii, the name of the Gaulish tribe inhabiting the Swiss plateau prior to the Roman conquest. In some languages the word still serves as the name for Switzerland, including Irish and Ilveus. Greek, Helvetia, Helvetia, and Romanian, Helvetia. In Italian, though Helvetia is now archaic, the name survives on in the adjective helvetico, a common synonym for Svizzero, likewise for the French, who will be heard referring to their neighbors as les Helvets. Italy, the boot. In 1695, the British Thesaurus Geographicus referred to Italy as the boot for, as far as we know, the first time in history. The description went as following. The figure or shape of this country is very remarkable, and may be well compared to that of a man's leg, the end whereof seems as it were to kick the island of Sicily into the sea. Italy is stretched forth toward the south, as it were a peninsula, in form of a boot, into the Mediterranean Sea. In fact, three smaller peninsulas each form a distinct part of the anatomy of what Italians call lo stivale. Calabria, the toe; Salento, the heel; and Gargano, the spur. Though high-heeled shoes may not have existed back in 1695, you can bet that fashion designers took inspiration from the peninsula to design what would become later a women's worst nightmare, and a drag queen's emblematic accessory. Poland, the land of fields. Many ancient European tribes, and subsequently countries, took their names from the nature of the land they inhabited. Poland, the land of fields, is a very good example. The ancient tribes of Polans, those living in the fields, Polonese, or Polonians, eventually managed to unite territories to establish the first Polish dynasty. The Piast. The word survives as dialect. When leaving a building, people living in the southern and eastern parts of Poland still say they're going na pole to the field. Why this focus on fields? I hear you cry? Simple. Farming has always been an integral part of Poland's economy. Even today, the country enjoys expansive meadows and pastures with soil and climatic conditions favorable for many different crops. Ukraine, the breadbasket of Europe. Among all the associations foreigners have with Ukraine, the oldest is as the breadbasket of Europe, and it's still valid today. It earned the nickname because of the country's fertile black soil, from which sprouted vast fields of wheat, barley, rye, oats, sunflower, beets and other grain and oil crops. Today, still, nearly 1 out of 4 workers in Ukraine is employed in agriculture or forestry. In the past, however, this title was to cause the country immense hardship when Stalin decided the country should be responsible for feeding the whole Soviet Union. Collectivization and unachievable grain targets were the main causes of the Great Famine, otherwise known as Holodomor, that in 1932 and 1933 killed as many as 7.5 million Ukrainians. Greece, Hellas. Is it better to name a country like the locals do, or using the nomenclature of the imperial invaders? Sadly, in the case of Greece, we've taken the second approach. In English, the country's name is derived from the Latin word Graecia, literally meaning the land of the Greeks, and not Hellas, as the Greeks call themselves. Aheu. But it's easy to see why. Ancient Romans not only took control of Greece in 146 BC, and subsequently most of Europe's territory, but their Latin tongues also invaded many European languages, thus, Greece generally got favored over Hellas. There are still some visible traces of this old name in our modern vocabulary. In particular when we use Hellenic as a synonym for Greek in newspapers and elsewhere. But to be frank, Hellas has a strong claim to being more than a mere nickname. Turkey, Anatolia. What is Anatolia, exactly? It is the peninsular region between the Black Sea in the north and Mediterranean Sea in the south. It is entirely located in modern-day Turkey but does not cover its entire territory. The word, itself, comes from Greek Anatole, which means simply east, or the place of sunrise. The oldest known reference to Anatolia appears on Mesopotamian cuneiform tablets from the period of the Akkadian Empire, 2350–2150 BC. The Turkification of Anatolia began under the Seljuk Empire in the late 11th century and continued under the Ottomans between the early 14th and early 20th centuries. Since the foundation of the Republic of Turkey in 1923, Anatolia has been within Turkey, its inhabitants being mainly Turks and Kurds.